What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Sad day out here in Portland for Wisconsin Badger fans. And hold on, real quick. Yeah, sad day down out here in Portland. You got to tip your cap. High Point played a really good game. Unfortunately for Wisconsin, High Point played out of their actual minds in crunch time there. There's only so much you can do when Johnston is pulling up from 30 feet. And I was wrong. Unfortunately, he does have a little bit of Jack Golke in him. It's sad to say, but he definitely does have a little Jack Golke in him. And then the other one, little Rob Martin, when he kind of flailed into a three, kind of trying to draw contact and still flung it up when Wisconsin was up 5 or 8, whatever it was. Those are two absolutely massive key plays that hurt Wisconsin big time. And yeah, I'm not really that upset with Wisconsin's performance. I thought they played fine. I thought they played well. I would say the biggest thing for me is that the offensive rebounds from High Point. I thought High Point was really getting after it on the old boards. They out rebounded Wisconsin 13-6 on the offensive boards. A lot of those boards were long rebounds that went kind of towards High Point, some decent bounces, but at the same time, you kind of make your own luck there. They had a nose for the ball. They found the ball, and unfortunately, when you have 7-foot Nolan Winter, you got 6'10" Rap, 7-foot Belowskis, you kind of expect that Wisconsin's going to win the rebounding edge, but they lost it by 3 overall. They lost it 13-6. So that would be the biggest thing that I had a problem with. And then I'd also say in that first half, I thought they could have locked up a little bit more defensively. High Point, just make them work a little bit more. High Point had a lot of good shots in that first half that they missed. They also banked one in. That's a big play. The shot looked absolutely brutal. I was there in person. It looked brutal. And to the people who told me I should have brought the cow vest, I agree. That's on me. I should have brought it. Should have been confident and just rocked it nonetheless. But yeah, I really don't have that much of a problem with how Wisconsin played offensively in that first half. Boyd got a quick 7. I wish he would have kept on his foot on the pedal and kept staying aggressive. But Boyd, Blackwell, I thought Blackwell had an absolute masterclass in that first half, drawing fouls. He drew fouls on like 4 different guys, putting up 20 points in that first half. I thought Blackwell played wonderful in that first half, and then I thought in the second half, Boyd played really wonderful on the offensive end. There's 2 times where Boyd missed layups that you wouldn't expect him to miss. There's one where I think Wisconsin was up 5 at the time, and this was just a huge moment. He got a little bit too fancy with it, kind of brought it, did that whole jelly thing. Anybody remember that whole jelly fan thing like 8 years ago? He just got fancy, put a little bit too much spin on it, and it didn't go in. Instead of just laying the ball in the hoop. That was disappointing, but I can't really criticize Boyd at all because he was the guy who's carried Wisconsin for so much of the season. And in that second half, they could not stop him whatsoever. He was getting to the hoop at absolute will. It's too bad on that last possession of the game. They just all sold out. They knew that the ball was going to Boyd and he's going to get downhill. And, they played solid defense, chested up, walled up, and they blocked the shot. But Boyd, wonderful second half overall from Boyd. Wonderful first half from Blackwell. I really didn't feel like Wisconsin played that bad of a game. High Point, they're a really good 12 seed. I would say this is one of the best 12 seeds, especially for a mid-major 12 seed that I've seen in the NCAA tournament in quite some time. One of the best 12 seeds I can think of in recent memory was like 7 years ago when Wisconsin played Oregon, and Oregon was lengthy as hell, had Pritchard at the point guard spot. All these 5-12 matchups. I hate these matchups that the committee has given Wisconsin. But overall, I thought High Point, you got to tip their cap to them. They played a great game. Wisconsin, I thought, actually played a pretty good game as well. I thought defensively they could have shored some stuff up. Offensively, they could have done not a whole lot more. Wisconsin, if you look at the final stats from Wisconsin in this game, they shot 39% from 3, 48% from the field, 92% from the free throw line, had 10 turnovers. High Point is a team that leads the country in steals per game. They only turned over 6, so they won on the turnover margin. My biggest disappointment, I would say, like earlier I mentioned, for anyone who's newer, and leave any comments if you guys would like, but I would say the biggest disappointment that I saw was on the offensive boards, Wisconsin getting out rebounded 13-6. A lot of those boards were long rebounds. A lot of those High Point, you make your own luck. And that's what High Point did. They made their own luck. They kind of just outworked Wisconsin on those offensive boards. And then also, I thought the big guys, particularly the starting big guys in the first half, I thought Belowskis was much better in the second half. But in that first half, Belowskis, you gotta be strong with that ball. It was getting knocked out of his hands a little bit too much for my liking. But overall, like I said, in crunch time, this was very Jack Olke-esque from Johnston, and it's actually unbelievable that Johnston had his first two in the entire season was the game-winning basket in this game when he broke out and laid it in transition. That was the first 2-point field goal made by him all season. Yeah, I mean, I really, I don't know what you guys think, but overall, I thought Wisconsin played pretty decently. I mean, this team. What's so disappointing about this loss is this team had a high ceiling. This was a team with a very high ceiling. I thought they could have made it all the way down to Indy, and I also said they had a low floor. And but I said they had a low floor, but I don't think this was that bad of a performance. I just thought High Point is a pretty good team. They're better than I thought. And then also High Point played out of their mind, especially in crunch time. Wisconsin kept on answering every single punch High Point was throwing. But the problem was High Point was making threes, Wisconsin was making twos. And that's what kept on going. And then ultimately High Point finally got a big stop. And yeah, they laid it in for the win. But I mean, I can get granular. I can nitpick on a few things that I didn't like from Wisconsin, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good game. I mean, just looking at the box score, there's only so much more you could ask for. The rebounding, and then also, I would say, yeah, just Boyd on that one where he got a little bit too fancy. Then they got an and one on the other end, and then there was another play where Boyd had Johnston on him, and I thought for sure he was going to take it all the way and finish because they couldn't stop him at all, and he didn't finish. But Boyd, I mean, I can't really criticize him. It's really too bad. This team was a lot of fun. They improved a ton throughout the season. This team is absolutely night and day from the start of the season to where they are now. This isn't even the same team. And it's really too bad to see them lose in the first round when they had such a high ceiling. So, um, yeah, disappointing from Wisconsin. And then just a few things that I also noted. I was there, should have brought my Cal vest. But a few things that I noted is gosh, their coach was obnoxious. High Point's coach was so obnoxious. It sucks to lose to a guy like that. I'd rather lose to a humble man like Matt Painter, not losing to their coach. I mean, he couldn't even compose himself in the handshake line where he could take his time and just shake everybody's hand like a man. And instead, he was just kind of puffing his chest in the handshake line. Pretty classless in my opinion. And then he's puffing his chest again in the press conference. And hey, that was a well coached team. They played hard. They deserved that win. But I thought their coach was pretty classic. Just watching them in person in the handshake line. And a few of their players were jawing with the Wisconsin crowd after they got the dub. And I guess, Boyd and Blackwell did that a lot. So I guess that's just a taste of our own medicine a little bit. But yeah, didn't like what I saw from the coach. Krabbenhoff had a little something to say to that coach as he was going down the handshake line. And this team, like I said, they had a very high ceiling. I said a low floor as well. But ultimately, there were some holes on this team. This was a really good team. I thought it was Greg Gard's best, even though they lose in the first round. I thought this is absolutely Greg Gard's best team, and they had the highest ceiling out of any Greg Gard's team that we've seen. But there were some holes, and one was, hey, this wasn't a great rebounding team. They're not super physically imposing down low. They got out rebounded by a mid-major today, so I would say that was a big hole. And then defensively, this was a very average defensive team. Like they showed bits and pieces this season that hey, when it matters, they can really lock down and they can get some stops when they really need it, but they didn't have a true defensive stopper. I thought Rhodey played really hard today. He did a decent job on Rob Martin. I thought the effort was there, but this team just there were holes, unfortunately, on the defensive end and on the boards. Those were their two weaknesses. I'm curious to see what they do. I mean, Gard's absolutely cooked in the transfer portal with Nick Boyd, cooked with John Tonje. I mean, there's going to be a massive hole with Nick Boyd. I mean, what he was able to do, lifting up his teammates, getting to the lane at will. I'm interested to see how they handle that moving forward. And then the other question I have is, okay, what are we going to see from Nolan Winter? What are we going to see from John Blackwell? Like I imagine if I had to guess, I imagine both of them, or at the very least, John Blackwell is going to be going through the draft process. That'd be my assumption. I would assume if I had to bet, if you said, Matt, you have to bet, what do you think these guys are going to be doing next year? I would say I think John Blackwell is going to be gone, and I think Nolan Winter is going to be back. But this is the kind of heartbreaking loss where he actually played pretty well. I mean, John was cooking in that first half. This is one of those losses where, hey, maybe that incentivizes them to come back and to actually make a deep run. But they're still, regardless, even if they get Nolan Winter and John Blackwell back, there's going to be some holes. They're going to miss Carrington a lot. Carrington was unbelievable these last few months. But Yeah, if I had to guess, I'm gonna say yes. Nolan Winter is back. John Blackwell's not. I hope they're both back. I think financially it might make the most sense for both of them. And then Gard. I know Gard. I've already got some texts from some people roasting him and saying things about him. Honestly, I thought this wasn't his fault. His team shot nearly 50% from the field, shot 40% from three, and 92% from the free throw line. Turned it over 10 times against a team that leads the country in steals. I mean, I don't fault Gard. I mean, this his turnaround. I thought he should have won Big Ten Coach of the Year. The turnaround of this team. This team looked piss poor in November and December. They looked terrible, and they looked like a team that absolutely could have made a deep run. Unfortunately, they just ran into a team that went nuclear on them in crunch time. So, I mean, it is what it is for Wisconsin. I hope you can retain Belauskis and Rapp. I think both those guys have bright futures moving forward. Both freshman, sophomore, both are 20 years old. Like I think that if they can retain those guys with or without Winter, I think they both have bright futures. But yeah, they have a Nick Boyd-sized hole, and that's going to be some big shoes to fill. They're going to have to hit the portal, and I don't know if they can do it 3 years in a row where they can find a guy who can come in for 1 year, a sixth-year senior, and one just kind of embrace the program so much. Both John Tonje, both Nick Boyd just seem to be true Badgers. Both guys seem to be true guys who just embrace the program, and fans love them, even though they're their 1 year guys. They, kind of like as Bo Ryan said, rent the players back in the day. These guys felt just a little bit different. Both guys felt a little bit different, and they're likable guys. They're easy to root for. Guard's got to. I don't know how they're going to be able to pull it off a third year in a row. We'll see. Time will tell. It's going to be tough. But yeah, and also something else to notice, just looking at the box score a little bit. Only 7 guys got minutes. There's only 7 guys. There was no Hayden Jones today. There's no Hayden Jones. There's no minutes at all for the freshmen. So that's something interesting. But I really hope we don't have any problems with the portal. I hope these guys can stick around because I think they do have a decent core. And I'm not sure what you guys think, but I hope that John Blackwell and Nolan Winter return. That's a hell of a duo. And I think they can make a deep run. They have what it takes. This team had what it takes. But ultimately, yeah, credit to High Point. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's everything I want to say. This is just a solo episode of the Brew. Mike, he's got obligations. He's playing with his team right now. He's got obligations, events with his team. So I thought I'd hop on here quick and share my thoughts. But yeah, just kind of to recap a little bit. Blackwell, great first half. Boyd, great second half. Overall, offensively, it was pretty good from Wisconsin. Overall, this is a pretty good performance defensively. This wasn't a great defensive team, and especially in that first half. They probably got away with High Point missing shots they easily could have made. High Point did bank one in, but there was 2 key plays. When Wisconsin got up 5, got up 8, and thank God they didn't milk the ball. They learned from their mistake there, but it ultimately didn't even make a difference. But when Johnston hit that 30-footer for them when they're down 5 or down 8, and also he had Gulke. He had Jack Gulke in him. I was absolutely wrong. He had a little bit of Jack Gulke. He was curling off of screens and hitting really, really tough shots. And then the other one was on Rob Martin when he flopped. He kind of flailed his arms on the three-pointer, trying to draw a foul, not even really trying to make it. It was just a hope and a prayer. And unfortunately, it went in. But those are 2 shots. If they don't make those 2 shots, Wisconsin's winning right now. And we're feeling good, and we feel like Wisconsin can make a deep run. So, I mean, there's only so much you can do when – I don't remember seeing many mid-major teams doing what High Point did. I thought the mid-majors making a real Cinderella run. I thought that was a bit of a thing in the past. This whole High Point team was just a hodgepodge of guys from all over the country. A lot of JUCO drop, failures. A lot of high major guys who had to go to mid-major level, and they were old. They played like old men. Like they were super savvy and super crafty. They had Johnson's 26 years old. Fletcher is 24. They had a 25-year-old. Their leading scorer was a young 23-year-old. This was an old team, but they played like an old team. Super savvy, super crafty, just with their physicality on the little things. It was pointed out to me, just like when they set screens, just kind of bumping it into setting the screen, or just a lot of little like subtle push-offs. They got away with a lot of physicality, and then at the same time, if you're Wisconsin, you probably got to match that physicality, right? If you see High Point is getting away with that, I think back to the 2015 national championship against Duke, right? Duke was hand-checking the hell out of Wisconsin that second half, but Wisconsin stayed true to their principles of not playing with your hands, moving your feet on defense. They fouled a few times per game in all of college basketball. And when a team is playing as physical as they are, like a High Point was in this game, you got to match it. Okay, you absolutely have to match it. And yeah, and then there were some calls, but I'm not blaming the refs at all. I mean, High Point, I really thought when Wisconsin was up 5, up 8, it felt like this was Wisconsin's game. It felt like Wisconsin easily was going to walk away. And oh, sorry, I missed a few of these comments here. Yeah, the degree of difficulty of the 3-pointers during the late comeback was crazy. Like one in infinity crazy hurts as Bucky was scoring and playing well. Preach, Matt. Yes, this was a good game from Wisconsin. This was a good game from a team who I thought by the end of the season, Wisconsin was good as a 2 or 3 seed, and this was a team that could make a Final Four run, in my opinion. But I also said they had a low floor, but this isn't like they played down to their competition, in my opinion. I just thought the competition rose to the occasion, and it's too bad to lose to a coach like this. Yeah, so sad. It is very sad. This was a heartbreaking game. This kind of messes up the trip. I'm in Portland right now. This messes up my trip. We were doing a little father-son trip. I just kind of assumed that Wisconsin was going to get the dub. I didn't go to a lot of the festivities because I just kind of assumed, hey, I'll be able to go in a few days. I was like, hey, I'm going to go get a quick workout in because I didn't get one in these last few days. And yeah, it sucks. It kind of messes up. Crying. Recent chemistry was lacking with Winter, and that's interesting. I didn't, as Greg Gard would say, I didn't get a chance to take a look at the film. Pull off my glasses. I didn't get a chance to take a look at the film yet, and I'm not sure I really want. It was really heartbreaking because I really like this team. This team was super easy to root for. It seemed like a lot of likable guys, a lot of just level-headed human beings, and this was a tough one. It's too bad. High Point was very good, and it sucks. Blackwell, he got shut down in the second half. I didn't realize he had 4 turnovers. There was one of his turnovers, I believe, where he absolutely got shoved. Like, it was right in front of me. I had a beautiful vantage point of the core. I mean, Blackwell, and I'm not blaming the refs at all. High Point earned this. They played fantastic. They were well coached, even though their coach is a knob. Not a fan of their coach. Just with the way he handled himself on the sideline, like he was a lot. Yeah, their coach was a lot. I really wish Wisconsin didn't lose to a guy like that. And then in the handshake line, a lot of people joining. Like, I just, for me, like, you got to be as a grown man who's probably like 50 years old. When you're in the handshake line, you just got to compose yourself a little bit. Like, yeah, the other team's absolutely heartbroken. I mean, you guys had a fantastic win. Just go through the handshake line, shake everyone's hand, and then right when you're done with the handshake line, go and party with your team, have a blast. But he was puffing his chest a little bit much, kind of just breezing right by Gard, breezing right by everybody. And Krabenhoff and Steamsma were both gave him the business a little bit. Like, come on, man, like you got to do better than this. And then he's saying, oh, and High Major's got to play us in the regular season. He's probably got a point. But it is too bad. I didn't realize Blackwell had 4 turnovers in the second half. But come on, you got to admit, Clint Brom, you have to admit that in that first half, Blackwell was fantastic. He had 20 points at the half. He was drawing fouls on everybody. He wasn't even forcing it, and he had 20 points. So Blackwell was unreal in that first half. And then part of it where Blackwell wasn't scoring a lot was Nick Boyd in that second half was just scoring at absolute will. They could not stop him at all. Boyd was getting to the lane anytime he wanted to. Boyd was getting all the way to the lane. And yes, and I said it earlier, we got some more people dropping in right now, but Boyd, there's one layup, and I said it as soon as it happened. It's just amazing how much of a chain reaction game the sport of basketball is, where Nick Boyd did a little sizzle and got by his guy, and the crowd did a little ooh, and he kind of heard that, in my opinion. He heard that, and then he tries doing some jelly thing. Does anybody remember that, the whole jelly fam thing in like 2018 or like 2017? There was this player from Minnesota who was like the king of it or the founder of it, and he wasn't that good, but he was good at doing these fancy spin layups when he didn't even need to. That's what Boyd did. But I can't fault Boyd because he was unbelievable that second half. The only problem was Boyd was getting buckets every single time. But High Point was just making bizarre threes. And High Point, really, really good team. Yes, High Point is absolutely legit. They're absolutely for real. But here's the thing. Arkansas is up 10 against Hawaii. Does anyone want? Actually, I'm not a betting man. I'm not gonna be like, does anyone want to bet me right now? But I'm not a betting man. But they're not gonna shoot like this against Arkansas, if I had to guess. But I was wrong on this. Like that Johnston, when he pulled up from 32, when Wisconsin was up 5, 8, 3, whatever it was. I mean, that's unbelievable. What are you gonna do? And then when he's curling around the screens and just has a glimmer of daylight and he's moving like Jack Galkey off the screens and kind of curling off, fading, doesn't have his feet that set, and he's knocking him down. What are you going to do? And then there, like I said, it pisses me off. There's 3 threes that are just bothering me right now. In the first half, you had their 24-year-old eighth school guy, young guy for their team because he's 24. But when he banked in that three, it was so ugly, and his release was so freaking ugly. Like, let him shoot, but he splattered that thing off the backboard. That was a big moment for them because it felt like Wisconsin was ready to just kind of get rolling on them. And then the second half, Rob Martin, when he flopped on that three, does anyone else remember that, where he kind of flailed in, chucked it up, and it went barely even touched the net? He wasn't trying to make that. He's trying to draw contact. He just flung it up there. It was a hope and a prayer. There was no foul, but he drains the three, and then Johnson hits a 30-footer in transition right after. And that's all coming off the heels of Boyd cooking. So, yes, Boyd was a chef. This wasn't that bad of a performance from Wisconsin. This team was so fun. This is why this one hurts so much. Like in the NIL era, in the transfer portal era, it's very easy, even if your team's good, to like just kind of be milquetoast about it, where you're like, okay, yeah, it's they're good, but these are a bunch of guys who are just ego driven. They're all over the place. There were some retention, and the guys they brought in just fit like a glove. Carrington played out of his mind this season for Wisconsin, and then Nick Boyd. I mean, he truly embodied being a Badger for this one season. It's really too bad because I thought this team had a really, really high ceiling. Facts about High Point. Oh, but two of their players came through the portal. They spent $4 million this year. They're all upperclassmen from D1 established programs. They're not mid-major. Yes, I totally agree. And I did say this on my preview video. Like, they had high major talents. That's crazy. I appreciate that insight, Winter. Appreciate that insight. For me, that makes sense. And that's what sucks. It really hurts losing to a team that's all just a hodgepodge from all over the country. But yes, I said it before the game, and kind of one of the games I did watch on film, they were playing a 500 team, and they didn't. I was like, watching this film, like, they're good, they're very good, but I expect Wisconsin to win this. They had that extra juice today. Their physicality was a lot. They're all established high major players or former JUCO players who are all. They had 26-year-old, 25, 24, 23, 23, all over the place. They're old as hell. This team's really old, physical, and they play like it. They had all the savvy moves that you see from somebody at the Y, all the crafty old man moves, and they were athletic as well. I mean, this wasn't a mid-major team. It's really too bad that, they played really, really well. I can't fault Boyd. Boyd this whole season was actually Boyd these last 3 months was an A++. He was wonderful. Boyd was wonderful for Wisconsin these last few months, and this overall today, his performance was great. Overall, I mean, going to the box score, let's see, what did he end up with? I mean, he had 50% from the field, 27 points, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, 6 assists, 5 boards, 1 turnover. What more can I ask for Nick Boyd? Like, what more can you really ask from him? I can't fault him. Yes, that was the disappointing thing. You didn't need to get all fancy with that layup. That was a huge swing because then they had an and one layup on the other end. That was an absolutely massive swing that if he makes that, Wisconsin's probably moving on to the next round. But at the same time, if Nick Boyd's not playing, Wisconsin gets housed this game. He was scoring at will, but it's just ironic with how 3-point heavy this Wisconsin team was that a team was trading threes while Wisconsin was making twos, kind of like the Purdue game at Purdue a few weeks ago, right? Purdue kept on making twos, but Wisconsin would hit threes, and Wisconsin ended up winning. And High Point, I mean, if you would have told me these box scores, I would assume they were reversed. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. High Point, 15 of 40 from three. Wisconsin, 9 of 23. I would assume Wisconsin was the one who was shooting 15 of 40 from three. And then the other thing, you assume the high major team that has 2 7-footers playing, a 6'10" guy, and just, I guess, like High Point isn't a true mid-major, but you would assume the 13-6 offensive rebounded margin would have been Wisconsin. You would assume Wisconsin was the team going 15 of 40, not 9 of 23. They traded twos for threes, and it's too bad. That's crazy. That's crazy. Where are we getting this from? How do you guys know this? Is this just public knowledge that I don't know? That's wild. How much NIL does Wisconsin have? Probably not a ton more than that. At Johnson, oh my goodness. Yes, I mean, what can you do? what can you do? It was very Jack Golke like, and there was no stopping Jack Golke. Kentucky, I mean, Kentucky was actually there's multiple threes Golke hit against Kentucky 2 years ago where he got fouled. They were all over him. What are you going to do when a guy's pulling up from 32 or curling off screens? It's really too bad. And you know what's crazy to me, and I've said this before. I'm not sure if you guys know this yet. That was his first 2-point field goal of the entire season. The entire season, that was his first 2-point field goal. And the game winning one where he broke away. I thought maybe he might back iron that, being there live. It is crazy. I'm sure he's had some injuries, but he's 26 years old, and this is like his 8th year of college. You are training like every single day. And in the modern college basketball, you're not, how many of these kids are actually going to class and collecting real degrees? Like how how can you be playing 8 years of college basketball, be 26 years old, and that be your first two of the entire season? That actually blows my mind. That blows my mind that you can have that nonstop training. But hey, hats off to him. I mean, he did make Jack Golke proud today. Um, we're that team again this year. Not sure what you mean by that. If you want to elaborate, um, trying to draw the foul that announcer tried to say it was a blatant foul. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No. He. Oh, playing foul called, the refs missed. Not. Yes. No. He totally was trying to draw contact, and unfortunately, he every now and then, a prayer like that gets answered. That was a Hail Mary, and the prayer was answered. He was not trying to make that shot. I mean, it was solely trying to draw contact. He was trying to draw the foul. Yes, he jumped back into Rhodey, and yes, so it is very disappointing. So strange for this Bucky team to exchange 2 for 3. Yes, like I said, who would have thought that Wisconsin would lose in the tournament because the team's making threes while they're making twos? Like Boyd was getting to the hoop at will. Boyd was making. He went 50% on the game. That second half, Boyd was an alpha. He was taking over. And I just want to verify. Okay, yeah, Blackwell did have 5 turnovers, but he did have a double-double. He did go 22 and 10, and that first half was a masterclass from him. Yeah, it's not the second half you wanted. I hope that leaves Blackwell. I hope this leaves kind of a sour taste in Blackwell's mouth, and he wants to come back with Nolan Winter and be the big man on campus and be like. Here's the thing: is it possible for John Blackwell to make the NBA? Yes. He does have a pathway with the way he can shoot. He's a gym rat, and kind of what I envision, he'll be towards the end of the bench, at least to start. Kind of hope to maybe get a two-way or something like that. Yeah, there is a way for him to play in the NBA. I mean, I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he won't, but there is a path. But I'm saying financially speaking, he can come back next year and make more money than being on a two-way contract. Even a two-way is not guaranteed next year. So he can make more money next year than he would on a two-way. He can be the big man on campus. Yeah, him and Winter can be the last dance, and they have a chance to go down as legends at Wisconsin, especially in today's day and age. Like, how many players stick around for 4 years? It barely exists. So he can stick around, make more money next year than he would if he went pro. He can solidify his name as a legend. He can go for records. I imagine Brad's 3-point title, he'll be going for that. Some scoring records, he'll definitely be up there. Like, he has a chance to make more money and to be the big man on campus, to play in sold-out arenas where everyone knows his name. He's on ESPN getting talked about. He's on CBS getting talked about. He's making national headlines. Or he can be in the G League in empty arenas making less money. Like Frank Kaminsky. Frank Kaminsky was a second-round pick if he would have left after his junior year. Then he comes back for his senior year, and he's the 9th pick the next season, right? It is 1,000% possible for Blackwell to up his stock, I think. And Frank wasn't making any money at the point. Blackwell can come back and make $2 million. Frank made zero, but he wrote an article. Frank wrote a blog, and he's like, I look around the NBA and I see venues like Charlotte, and it just looks boring to me. He said that, then he ends up getting drafted by Charlotte, but they look boring. They're empty. He's talking about an NBA arena. Most likely, John Blackwell will be playing in G League arenas, hoping to get a two-way, hoping to touch the court. I mean, Tanjay. What has he played? Maybe 2 games this season in the NBA. So it is. I think it makes a lot of sense for Blackwell to come back. I 1,000% expect Blackwell to go through the draft process. Last year, he didn't get an invite to the NBA draft combine or the G League draft combine. And so I imagine his stock has boosted since then. But for me, I think it makes a lot of sense for John Blackwell to come back next year. More money, get to play in fun venues, become a legend at Wisconsin, alongside your boys with Nolan Winter. Like, I think it makes a lot of sense, but you got to do what's best for you. But I don't know. For me personally, I can't push this on anybody else, but playing at empty G League arenas or playing at sold out college basketball arenas where you're one of the most well known players in all of college basketball and doing it for more money, I don't know. Which one do you think makes more sense? I really hope to see him back next year. All right, let's get back to a few more comments here. Agreed. Yes, Big Red's cooking in this chat. And then MVP of the game, MVP of the season, MVP of the game. Well, it has to be for High Point. I'll give it to Rob Martin, 23 points, 10 assists. Wisconsin battled hard defensively. Like Rhodey was going after him hard. Martin just made a lot of great plays. It is what it is. I mean, overall in the game, I'll give it to Martin, and Johnson was so timely when he started turning into Jack Golke a little bit. But Golke's better than Johnston for sure. And Golke was old. He was like 24, but Johnson's 26. He's 26. And, I'm not one of those guys who you shouldn't be playing college basketball if he's making six figures and he's getting to play college basketball. But how the hell can you be playing from college for 8 years and be 26 and not have a single 2-point field goal? You're working out 6-7 times a day. You get good food, trainers. How are you not making a single two? And of course, this freaking first two of the year is to knock Wisconsin off. But yeah, for Wisconsin, you're looking who was MVP of the game. I'll give it to Boyd. I mean, 10 to 20 from the field, 27 points, 6 assists, 5 boards. I mean, I think it's better to go first half Blackwell, second half Boyd. That was the MVP on the season. Nick Boyd's the MVP, without a doubt. Nick Boyd is the MVP. He was so freaking good. This team had such a high ceiling. It is quite disappointing. Yes. I mean, going to silver linings. I mean, there's no silver linings, but yeah, can you guys believe that High Point gave up 2 layups on baseline inbounds plays where it was like a 1-4, the inbounders the 1, and they just had 4 and twice Blackwell just cut to the hoop and laid it in. I don't know how did High Point not stop that, but even with that, and then there's also that Rap nailed a 3, but nonetheless, High Point won. No, do not fire Gard. What? Don't. Okay, this team was very good. This team's turnaround was amazing. Gard's turnaround this year was fantastic. I thought Gard should have won Coach of the Year. This team was cooking, and unfortunately, they played against High Point. Someone said it before. High Point was not a mid-major team. This was a really good team with a lot. They were a good team, and they also played above how good they were. This was as good as a performance High Point could have possibly had. I really don't remember seeing a second half like that from a team like ever. And I was wrong. Apparently High Point could just pay players as much as a high major team. I mean, they had $4 million in NIL I've been hearing in the chat here. And then, yeah, a lot of these guys are 26, 25, 24, 24, 23. I mean, Boyd's old. He's 24, turning 25 soon. But we got one of those. Age makes a real difference. Let me tell you, like having Belauskas who's 20, Rapp who's 20, versus guys who are 20, like everyone was at least like 23 for them. You look at them on Stat Reference, their top players, senior, junior. Like, and it sucks that a hodgepodge of talent just from all over the country with no continuity. It's really too bad that Wisconsin lost to that. Yeah, I really hope too. And see, this is like Nick Boyd, and I forgot to shout him out for this. He did have a right-handed layup against Maryland, but he didn't need his right hand. Like I gave a hard time about that earlier in there. Nick Boyd didn't need his right hand. He was so good using his left in a variety of ways, his athleticism, just the crazy finishes he had. Even on the right side, you would find ways to use that left hand. Like ideally, yes, you would been able to use both hands a little bit more. But when you're as high level as Nick Boyd was with his left hand, you don't need to be using your right hand finishing around the hoop. He would use his right hand getting to the hoop. A lot of left-handed players will go right and ultimately come back left every single time. Boyd would go to either side, but yes, he was finishing with his left hand, but he was so good at it, I didn't really have a problem with it. Yeah, no, it is a fact. He didn't finish with his right hand, 100%. You need a guy with a big ass by the rim. I don't disagree. And also, let's keep in mind that both Belauskas and Rapp are 20 years old, and they played against a team that had a bunch of 24, 25, 26, 23-year-olds, as I keep on saying. Like, this is a team with a bunch of high major junior college players, and they were very old and physical, and that makes a difference. And Yeah, but I do agree. I mean, I think that'd be something Wisconsin should target in the portal potentially is just a guy. And you know who that could be? Will Garlock. Why can't that be Will Garlock next year? And he was only a freshman this year. And in today's college basketball, you're going to stockpile guys who are 26. You know what? It's kind of hard to come in as a freshman and be that guy. But why can't that be Will Garlock, who's just the physical guy defensively? I mean, there's a chance if Wisconsin brings back Belowskis to be 21 next year, Rapp will be 21. You'll have Nolan Winter will be a senior, and then Garlock will have a year under his belt. Some great experience he got this year. Like that's a pretty good front court to me. And I think if Garlock's minutes can go up a little bit with his physicality, his athleticism, I think that'll be a really great thing. So hopefully, I want that to be Garlock. I think the biggest thing Wisconsin needs to attack in the portal is they need to get someone a point guard. They need to get a point guard who can penetrate, get his feet into the lane. It won't be as good as Boyd. I guarantee you, Wisconsin will not find a guy as good as Boyd. It's actually absurd that Gard found John Tonje. He found John Tonje last year, who was committed to a mid-major before Wisconsin poached him. And Nick Boyd, I mean, he only played at mid-majors before this. This is his sixth year. He's 24. And he saw the talent, and I think Brad had something to do with it. But he saw what Boyd can do, and holy cow, Boyd and Tonje both played so much better than they played anywhere else. I mean, you give Gard some talent, he's gonna work with it. I mean, I think it's proven at this point. You give Gard a decent athlete, he's gonna cook. But it's really too bad that we didn't get to see more Boyd. I loved watching Boyd. What does he give? Stats from players. They just don't get enough stats. Yeah, that's another weakness. Is like, yeah, they're the others. I mean, you would hope that Rapp or Belowskis or whoever. I mean, you did have 8 from Winter and five from Carrington. And you know, Winter being hurt. Let's not forget that. That hurts. That's not helpful in what Wisconsin was trying to do today. Um, yeah, but Rhodey, I mean, he last year at Virginia was a very high level shooter, 38, 39%. He's a very crafty player. He's a good passer, good floor vision, kind of a glue guy, you know, like he's just not the most physically imposing, the most physically solid human being. So he couldn't really be that glue guy defensively to the level we would have wanted, but he was a solid defender. You know, he's very crafty offensively, a good passer, and it is what it is. But I didn't have a problem with him playing 32 minutes, and he made 2 really big shots for Wisconsin today. Had 5 assists. Um, yeah, it's too bad Roy didn't shoot the ball better this year. He did hurt his wrist. I don't know if that had something to do with it. It's too bad, but yeah, 6'6", handle the ball, smart player. He was a role player for this team. He was a glue guy, and I thought like he belonged, in my opinion. Um, yeah, Blackwell should come back next year. The roster problem I see for next year is with Rapp and Winter. I don't think we need 2 stretch fours. Keep one. No, 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 no. I am. Rapp's good. He's only 20. Like 20 is young in this college basketball, and he improved so much this season. He got so much better. Like I want to see both of them back, and I want to see Belowskis back. I mean, these guys are young. They can take big jumps each and every year. And then the thing is, my biggest hope is hopefully Garlock can give you a few more minutes. Boyd turns 25 in April. Boyd turns 25 in April. Just we had one of those. They had 5 of those. First time we lose. Yes. Oh shit! I didn't realize this. Yeah, first time we lose, we score 80 points, and of course it's in the tourney. I didn't realize that. Good point, man. Good point. Disappointing. Wisconsin on the offensive end didn't play that bad. Defensively, I thought the second half, some of them, there's only so much you can do. I thought the second half Wisconsin played pretty well defensively. I just think a lot of it was High Point was making tough shots, and also High Point. I can't believe they got 13 boards. Wisconsin 6. Some of those were very friendly bounces to High Point, but a lot of times you make your own luck on the boards, and they just had a nose for 50-50 balls. Yeah, I mean, he leveled up significantly as the season went on. He leveled up significantly. So yeah, I want to see. So, there's a chance we don't get Winter back, and I would be very happy with a trio of Rapp, Belowskis, and Garlock off the bench. What I don't want is what I think the biggest need for Wisconsin is in the portal is they need to get a facilitator. They need to get someone who can stir the drink a little bit for them, get downhill. Yeah, I really hope we don't have people leaving. Like for me, I mean, this is just my take. Like Michigan is such a good team this year, but I my I would much rather root for this 5 seed Wisconsin team that has some continuity than the guys they bring in. Like, boy, really embrace the program. You had Janicki, you have 2 Wisconsin freshmen who got a little bit of minutes. You see Carrington playing out of his mind for Wisconsin. Like, I really hope this team can retain and not overly rely on the portal. They're going to have to portal. You don't want to pull a Marquette, but you're going to have to portal. And I think that portal is going to have to be another point guard who can stir the drink, a guy who can get to the rim like Tanjay and like Boyd did these last 2 years. Just whether it's a wing or a point, but they're going to have to get a point. That's the biggest thing I want to see in the portal is a point guard. What was that thing? Gas quick stay in Portland. Yes, I don't know what I'm doing. But it's like I'm 48% from the field, 39% from three, 11 to 12 from the free throw line, 92%. I mean, 10 turnovers. I mean, that's not that bad of a performance. I thought this was actually a good performance. High Point just outplayed them. It is what it is. High Point went berserk in crunch time. Sounds like Winter. That is the odd man out then. Need a real 5. Belauskas. Why can't Belauskas be the real 5? Once again, 20, freshman. He's a freshman. Well, why can't Belauskas pick up 10 more pounds and then you bring Garlock off the bench and he gives you good minutes? I mean, he's a real physically imposing guy. Why can't we just bring back Rapp, Belauskas, Garlock, Winter? I mean, if Winter comes back, great. If he doesn't, okay, maybe you bring in a guy as I forgot who said it earlier. You got to bring in a guy with a big ass. Somebody said earlier down low, and yes, I mean. Maybe you bring one in for competition's sake, or maybe you bring in a 24-year-old down low who can protect the rim, who's athletic, can board. But I mean, this is my preference. I'm biased towards continuity. I definitely prefer continuity versus just overdoing the portal. You have to portal, but there is something beautiful about retention. But who gives a damn about retention when freaking High Point is the one when freaking High Point has 0 retention and they just beat us? I mean, maybe retention's overrated. I don't know. Actually, it's not overrated. I mean, this High Point is a very unique team who played exceptionally well. But mid-majors, you look at these last 2 NCAA tournaments, and you look at last year. There was 0 madness last year in 2025. It's because 10 years ago, or 15, 10, 6, 7 years ago. Can't believe I did that. I'm sorry. But you go back that long, they would have late bloomers, kids who, when they were 16, 17 years old, maybe they hit puberty late, or whatever it is. I mean, they develop late. They're physically late bloomers. Some guys are fully grown when they're 8th. Other guys, it takes until they're like 25. I'm one of them. I bloomed extremely late. All right. So, but mid majors 10 years ago, here's what they would do. All right. Here's what mid majors would do. They would have some diamonds in the rough, but once they would pop off, they would have to sit out a year, and they didn't have teams offering them millions of dollars to go up. So what would they do? They would stick around at their mid-major, and sometimes they would bring a whole crew of guys where they find diamonds in the rough, and by the time they're seniors, those guys are pretty damn good at basketball. And then you would see, I mean, Siena almost pulled it off. I didn't even look at the end result. I don't give a damn about the end result because I'm a baby. When Wisconsin loses, I really don't care that much about March Madness. I really don't. All right? But back in the day, I mean, we saw 15 seeds winning all the time, 14, 13. You always saw that happening because you had retention. I mean, who remembers when CJ McCollum cooked Duke, right? Or when Florida Gulf Coast made the Sweet 16? Like, there was guys who stuck around the program. And yes, this High Point team, they didn't have continuity, but this was an exceptional performance for them. Wisconsin definitely wins this more times out of 10, but High Point's very good. And yeah, it is what it is. But I want continuity, but you have to portal as well. Wisconsin has found a really good mix in recent years. Hopefully, you know what? It's hard to win in March, but Gard did a fantastic job this year. Wisconsin played a good game today. I said they had a high ceiling, low floor, but this wasn't Wisconsin. This wasn't even a low floor thing today. They played well. They just Jack Golke just showed up out there for High Point. You know, their 26-year-old senior pulled up from 32 feet with this little flailing, little weak form. You know, I'll close my mouth. I won't go any further on that. But he is stupid little form flinging that ball, and it went in the hoop. You know what? Their guy tried drawing contact. Martin tried drawing contact and flopping on a 3. and he wasn't even trying to make the shot, but it swished nothing but net. They had a bank in the first half. I mean, there was just a few things, and then on top of that, they were playing really well. They out rebounded Wisconsin. Some of the loose balls, 50-50 balls they ended up with or kind of went towards them a little bit more is what it is. This was a tough team, tough matchup. I don't expect them to beat Arkansas. Like they're not going to do in crunch time what they did today. It was bizarre. And I said this, and I'll get to some more comments in a second. I said this before the game that how the NCAA tournament works, and you guys all know this, but this was the first game of the day. And when you let a team like High Point stick around, more fans start filtering in. Arkansas fans are there. Hawaii fans are there. BYU fans are there. More fans start coming to that arena. And guess what it is? It's a road game. And also, I'll say, like Wisconsin, decent fan base. I was there. This is really disappointing. I love this team. I thought they're going to make a deep run. But what High Point, they out-traveled Wisconsin. And I believe they have to travel further. Like, isn't High Point all the way on the East Coast? Correct me if I'm wrong. But High Point had a bigger crowd. A lot of students were in their crowd. And this isn't even the Kohl Center. Like, we were decent fans, but why are we sitting down so much? Their entire section was filled with students standing the whole time. And then as more fans started filtering in the game, they were all cheering for High Point. That was a road environment in that second half. And it is what it is. But if Wisconsin, there were moments where Wisconsin could have pulled away easily pulled away. And Boyd, love Boyd. I hope Mike and I can bring him on the show. I really hope Mike and I can bring him on the show because I have a lot of respect for how he improved. I have a lot of respect. And, I'll go to some silver linings. I'll be optimistic in a second. But, yeah, I mean, Boyd carried Wisconsin in that second half. We were just trading 2 for 3s. I mean, he was getting to the bucket at will, making shots. But that one where he did a little ooh and ah, some fancy dribbling, and I don't know why he had to do that. Why? I said it right when that happened. That was just a freaking massive swing. Even before, basketball is just such a chain reaction game. You get cute like that, the other team's going to go down and get an and one layup. They're going to hit a 3. They're going to go on a 7-0 run. The basketball is just the weirdest momentum game where if you don't do things the right way, you lose focus for a second, it's going to bite you in the ass, and that's what happened. Boyd got fancy, tried being part of Jelly Fam. If anyone remembers that whole Jelly Fam stupid shit back in the day, that's what he did. And but overall, thank you, Nick Boyd. I loved watching you play. I was super critical in the first 2 months because I felt like you and Blackwell were kind of butting heads, trying to outdo each other. You weren't vibing together. And boy, did you guys come a long way. This team could have made a deep run. But I really had a blast watching Nick Boyd. And I don't see why. I totally think he should get a look in the NBA. I really do. And I didn't think I would have said that a few months ago, but his dribble penetration, he shot pretty well overall in the season. And there was also like a video, one of those behind the scenes videos Wisconsin does. The cinematic highlights. I forgot which game it was, but he had his shirt off in the locker room, and he weighs 177 pounds. So you're like, okay, man, maybe that's a little bit too light. The dude doesn't have an ounce of fat on his body. Holy cow! I've never seen a human being just standing there, just cut up like that. So yes, is he kind of on the lighter side for a modern NBA point guard? Yes, but he also has like 0% body fat. So I totally think that Nick Boyd should and will get a look. I think he's an NBA backup point guard for sure. Let's get back to a few more comments here. What was that today? Yes, so we'll see what I do. It's gonna suck. You kind of make the place, like right, like we traveled, we were out to Portland. You kind of make the city, with events and memories and stuff like that. But I'm not sure how long we want to stay after this. And now that everyone's gonna be gone, it's gonna feel like the end of a video game after you beat it. And there's just nothing to do in it anymore. It just feels like an empty world. That's what it's going to feel like. Sounds like winter. No, I think Garlock and Belowski's are real 5s, catching up. I don't know what that means. If you want to comment again, I don't know what that means. Move to the 4, are you trying to say? We'll move to Ho? I don't know what that means. I think it's a typo. When you have someone who hits from the low, well, there's not much you can do, man. Late game scenarios cost us this year with Indiana and UFC, but helped us with Illinois, Michigan. I mean, overall, this sucks. This sucks that they lose in this massive situation. But overall, late game scenarios, Wisconsin is pretty fantastic on the season. Like what they did against Michigan, Illinois, Purdue on the road, really, really good. That UFC game was really disappointing. They should have won that easily. Indiana, I thought they played really, really well to come back and unfortunately, they, that I'm not a guy to blame the refs at all. Like, I'm really not. I don't think refs are out to get you. Maybe every now and then, but I that was one where I think there's some bad officiating. But overall in the season, like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I mean, High Point just played really, really well. Um, yes, yes, like that. I totally agree. And then like you think of just the longevity of a season. Hopefully, you can avoid like maybe Nolan Winter doesn't need to be playing when you're up 30 with 7 minutes left against Maryland. If you have all four of those guys back next year, like hopefully the minutes can be dispersed in a way where all of a sudden that everyone can stay relatively fresh on the court. Like that's the hope. And yeah, Garlock, from all the reports, everyone says he's the best dunker on the team. They say he's really athletic. But as Mike likes to say, Mike Bruzewitz, my co-host, who's busy right now, he says he's a giant human. And sometimes it takes some time as a giant human to adjust to being a giant human. And he's 18, 19 years old in a game of college basketball where we just played against a team that was littered with 24, 25, and 26-year-olds. Like, that makes a huge difference. The difference between 18 and 22 is big. The difference between 18 and 25 is even bigger. So if Garlock can be that physically, I would much rather we build from within. We retain Rapp, we retain Belauskas, we retain Garlock, and hopefully Winter comes back. I'd rather let those young guys just keep growing versus bringing in a bunch of portal guys, because Gard has knocked out some of these portal guys out of the ballpark, but it's not always going to be like that. And I know the team does a good job vetting and seeing the character and the personality of the guys they're bringing in, but at the same time, like, you can bring in a guy who can nuke the locker room. Who remembers AJ Storr? Remember that Wisconsin team 2 seasons ago? Also lost to a 5-12, but they played pathetic in that game. But who remembers when that team got off to such a good start, and then you have a guy like AJ Storr who just was in it for himself, who was fielding offers in January and February, and that team had zero chemistry at the end of the season. So you could bring in a guy like AJ Storr who isn't I don't want to say he's not a high character guy, but he's very transactional. He didn't buy into being a Wisconsin guy. Like, that's a 1-year rental who I have zero attachment to. I had him on the show, had a nice conversation, had some nice messages with AJ Storr. Fine. But he was about himself. He just went to 8 schools in 8 different years. But you had Boyd and Tanjay come on into the program who embraced being Wisconsin, embraced lifting up their teammates, embraced winning. They wanted to win more than anything. And gosh, Boyd was so fun pumping up the crowd. He got me the most into a game that I've been in a long time. Just seeing him engage the crowd, looking at us and wanting us to bring the noise. I appreciate that. And that's the problem. Like, the portal can be very hit or miss. There's some really talented teams out of college basketball that aren't good. Like, someone tells me that Ole Miss team that AJ Storr played for Chris Beard, that was littered with portal guys, they're probably pretty talented. But yet they won 4 games in the SEC, probably because of character issues. And Wisconsin, I feel like, is a team that relies so heavily on culture that you have to be careful with portaling. So if we can retain our young guys, remember, if Garlock, Belauskas, who am I missing? Rapp. If those guys were 25 years old, they would probably be kicking some ass today in this game, okay? Remember, they're 18, 19, 20 years old in an old college basketball world. So let them develop. Let's build from within. Where do we need to go in the portal? Point guard. And we need to have a point guard. I like age. Like, let's maybe not bring in a 19-year-old in today's college basketball. If we can bring in another guy who's going to be turning 25 shortly after the season like Boyd, let's do that, all right? But Wisconsin's going to need a slasher. They're going to need someone who can get to the hoop at will. And I hope Blackwell comes back and decides to be a legend for Wisconsin versus, probably playing in the G League, hoping to get a 2-way. Hopefully he can raise his stock, make more money, play on nationally televised games at sold-out arenas versus playing in empty G League arenas, hoping to get a 2-way deal. And even if he gets a 2-way deal, he's making way less money. And look how good John Tanjay was. And let me look up John Tanjay real quick, NBA stats. I mean, Tanjay was fantastic. He just signed a 2-way, super happy for him. But he's played 3 games this year for the Celtics. And there's a chance that Tanjay, I hope not, I really like Tanjay, wonderful human being, it seems like, from all the accounts that I heard about him. But there's a chance Tanjay, this is his cup of coffee in the NBA. There is a good chance that this is not a good chance. There is a chance. So I hope Blackwell comes back one more year, but he also has to do what's best for him. I know Mike would say that. I'm trying to listen. What would Mike say? Mike would have a more pro, like, you got to do what's best for you. You got to pursue what you want. But Blackwell seems to be such a badger. Blackwell, give us a run, man. Please come back. Please come back. Um, yeah, I don't think you have two bad options with Belauskas and Garlock. I'll say it again. They're 20 years old. Or yeah, they're 20 and 19 years old. I mean, they have time to improve. Late game turnovers have cost us a lot. Rhodey against Illinois still won though, and then Blackwell didn't catch the ball. Yeah, too bad. Um, are you saying the last play of the game? Are you saying the last play of the game? I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, there was open teammates. There were. But he also was just filling it up with endless twos right before that. So I mean, it's a bang bang play, especially when the pressure's that tight. You're in that road environment. I mean, these are bang bang decisions. You know, we can all watch the slow motion replays. We can all, watch. I was watching from the arena seat. We can all watch from our comfy couches. But ultimately, without Nick Boyd, Wisconsin's not in this game. And ultimately, if Nick Boyd didn't do what he did in the second half, you know who would have ran away with this game? High Point. High Point would have ran away with this game with the way they were knocking down ridiculous shots. Boyd was answering, but the problem was we were answering 2 for their 3. Um, yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. He will. I think Arkansas will get the job done. I will be stunned. I mean, if it's a close game, I don't expect High Point. I mean, I didn't look at the stats and what they did, but basically, it felt like almost every possession they were just hitting ridiculous threes. There was a time, and I said this to my old man. I said, Wisconsin's up 2 right now with a few minutes left at the free throw line with a 90% free throw shooter. And you would have expected High Point was winning, shooting at the line. They had all the momentum. That gym was very pro High Point. And yeah. Why does Winter bring his man into the play in order for Boyd to get blocked? Oh, there's also another play that was disappointing. I mean, this was probably with 10 minutes left, roughly second half play, where once again, Johnston, 46-year-old Johnston, was guarding Boyd, and Belauskas kind of came in and crowded him instead of just clearing out, like LeBron and Kobe isolation. Like, he brought him in, and it is too bad. But, I mean, overall, it's too bad. Storer was definitely a mercenary. Yes, he did have that exactly. He was a mercenary. That's a guy who, if you get a little too cute in the portal and you don't vet who you're bringing in and what their intentions are, like, can they balance their own personal ambitions with wanting to win? Can they do that? I mean, that's the big question you have to ask. And Gard overall has done a great job. But once his head got a little bit big and he started having success, it is what it is. But yeah, he was a mercenary, and so the portal Guard's been fantastic, but you got to be very careful. And I think Wisconsin's got some quality bigs if they can keep them and they don't get poached. I think that Wisconsin's big man play can improve. I think what I want to see next year is, one, you got to be able to bring in a point guard who can just penetrate. Like probably won't be to Boyd's extent, but I want to see a point guard who can penetrate, facilitate. But then the other thing that I want to see, and maybe this is Hayden Jones, I don't know, but just having a guy, Rhodey was kind of that glue guy he was the glue guy. I mean, you could say maybe he was the best perimeter defender. I don't know. But I think it would be wonderful if Wisconsin could have just a dog on the defensive end next year. I would love someone. My portal requests are, one, a point guard who can penetrate, similar to Boyd, but probably not as well, but a guy who can get his feet into the lane, or a wing who can get his feet into the lane. And then I would also like to see a guy who can really just impose his will on the defensive end, a lockdown defender. Wisconsin didn't have a lockdown defender. This was a very average defensive team for Wisconsin. And, I mean, we saw that, especially in the first half. Second half, I thought they played some better defense. High Point just started hitting a lot of tough shots. But they didn't have a true defensive stopper. And maybe that's Hayden Jones. I mean, Jones is pretty athletic. He is physically strong. So maybe Hayden Jones can be that guy. But, yeah, they need a better defensive stopper. Our bigs need to get a year older, enjoy some time in the weight room, eat some food. And, I mean, that's what it is. Well, hopefully Wisconsin doesn't lose a lot to the portal. The vibes seem pretty good. It seemed like they liked each other, but sometimes money talks. And, yeah. Yes, I know. I mean, yes, and especially in recent memory, yes. I mean, there's been a lot of heartbreak. This team was a little bit different. This team had a ceiling that the other teams that let you down didn't, and that's why this one hurt so much. This team had a high ceiling, and I said a low floor, but this wasn't a bad performance from them today. They just High Point played really well. It sucks, and Wisconsin's holes were kind of exposed today. Really good team, but they weren't perfect. Um, First Fickle. Okay, I disagree. I strongly disagree. I mean, this overall. I mean, if you would have told me what Wisconsin was going to do in December, that they were going to do this, they were going to be a 5 seed, and maybe they should have been seeded even better, and they were going to have those wins against Illinois, Purdue, Michigan. It's very easy to just. I mean, it sucks that you get measured by how you do in the NCAA tournament. I mean, it sucks that that's the way it is. But it is the way it is, and there's been some tough luck, and this year's team could have easily made a run. This year's team was different than the past teams, and this year's team had the juice, they had the talent, they had the horses to make a run. But unfortunately, yeah, there were a few holes, and they ran to a good team. How do you get better defensively? Well, I mean, I would say you need a wing defender. You need a guy who is like, okay, that's our best defender. Like we know the other team's best player is this guy. We feel good about putting him. He'll make life difficult. A lot of times, guys are so good offensively now in the world of college basketball and pro basketball that the best you can do is slow him down. So it's like, I don't know how good Hayden Jones is defensively. He's a freshman, and he might transfer. He's from New Zealand. I think he committed to Wisconsin, expecting that Kirk Penny would be there. So I don't know. I mean, I won't lose sleep if he transfers. I mean, that's just the way it is. But he seems like a guy who's athletic, who's, I don't know, maybe 6'5". He can move his feet pretty well, physically pretty sturdy. Maybe he can be that guy. Or I would like Wisconsin to go to the portal, but you got to have a guy who it's like obvious where, yes, that guy can D up the other team's best player. So that's what I would say. How do you get better defensively? You got to have a guy who's your best defender. I mean, who was our best defender this year? Rhodey? I don't know. I mean, you just got to have better defenders. How do you get better defensively? You got to bring in some guys who are just a little bit better defenders. Um, I mean, but I think it would start with, yeah, having a true guy on the perimeter. And also, I think Boyd, I wonder, Boyd plays so freaking hard. Like, I wonder if Gard had him kind of guarding guys off ball to let him have some time to relax. Because if Boyd was guarding the other team's point guard nonstop, like, even with his energy level, I don't know. I don't know how you could keep up with how hard he plays the entire game. Like Russell Westbrook, like Boyd goes so freaking hard, but it's like he's so athletic and he's physical. He's nearly 25. Like you think that Boyd would have been one of those guys who would just clamp down on the other team's point guard, but for whatever reason he wasn't that. And Gard would put Blackwell on the other team's point guard, or Carrington or Rhodey. But we didn't have a guy who was like really good defensively. And I feel like it's kind of been a minute since we had like a legit guy. Like Michael Flowers would have been wonderful on this team. Showalter, I mean, he was good, not great. He was pretty good. Gosser, I mean, guys like that. If Wisconsin had a guy or two like that, that would have been big. Brad Davison, having some guys who can D up. I think it starts with one guy who can take on the other team's best wing perimeter threat. Or I think that's the biggest thing. And then also, I think you got to have a bit more rim protection. Winter can protect the rim, but the hope is Garlock next year can take a step up in minutes, can really improve, grow into his body a little bit more. And then with his athleticism and physicality, hey, maybe he can be kind of a bully and enforcer down low who's grabbing boards and sending back shots. Because all the reports from practice say that he is dunking like a madman. You could throw lobs up to him like crazy. But as Mike Bruzewitz says, he's a big human and he's young, and guys he's playing against are quite old. All right, I agree with you. Get Rap in the weight room this offseason. I mean, Rap has a high ceiling. I mean, not a lot of 6'10" guys who are as early in their career can just go and make 6 threes like they did against Michigan. I mean, Rap has a very high ceiling, and I would definitely like some retention. He's not going to be the guy defensively who's your anchor, but he really improved this year. I mean, part of it's anticipation. He really started anticipating better, cutting guys off left and right. Rap really, but just he wasn't a liability by the end of the season. He was pretty solid, and I mean that's hopefully he improves. But yeah, I think I do think Rapp is an exciting guy. Hopefully, potentially he's starting or being the sixth man of the year next year. But I really hope Rapp is back next year. And when I interviewed him, I got to say, really impressive guy. Just nice, very nice in my interaction with him. Um, yeah, yeah. Rapp. So yeah, I guess I could have answered your question a little bit better. I would say yes. I mean, if you're looking at our internal roster, how do we get better defensively? One, like I think you go Garlock adds a little bit of poundage. Does Hayden Jones stick around? And if he does, how good defensively is he with his frame, his strength, his athleticism? Like, how good can he bite down? He was kind of a guy who didn't mind, kind of like a rugby player, like getting into it with the other team, kind of bringing that toughness, that edge to him. Like maybe Hayden Jones, but you got to have a guy on the perimeter who's clearly your best defender. Wisconsin did not have that this year. They did not have a guy where it's like, yes, that guy can really clamp down. Like Klesmit, Klesmit was pretty good, and he also was physically solid, and he would just play his ass off. Like Rhodey didn't have that same thickness in solidity or girth to him that Klesmit did because or Brad, right? Like Rhodey would go hard like those two would. It had a little bit more length than a Klesmit or a Brad, but the big difference was Brad and Klesmit were so physically solid, and their effort was just through the roof. And especially Brad was able to make such game-changing plays, whether it was just a heads-up play, diving for a ball. He had a lot, like against Maryland. Who remembers in 2020, January 2020, when Brad, their Wisconsin's full court pressing, he knocks the ball off the Maryland guy, and then he hits a three on the next possession. I mean, Brad was a guy who can make impact plays. When Wisconsin lost to Iowa State in the NCAA tournament, Gard had Johnny Davis guarding Gabe Kalsher. He had Brad guarding Isaiah Brockington. And Johnny could move his feet, was athletic, a pretty good defender. And it turned out that Kalsher, who was like 35% from the field that year, he was the guy cooking Johnny and cooking Wisconsin. He was the reason why Wisconsin didn't win that game against Ohio State and Milwaukee. Chucky hurting his ankle didn't help. But, yeah, I mean, Brad was a guy where he had like 4 steals that game. He took multiple charges, drew multiple fouls where he got the ball, and then Iowa's reaching in there. He drew the foul. Like, he was able to make impact plays. And Wisconsin did not have a guy who can consistently make impact plays on the defensive end. There's a bit of youth down low, so I think hopefully you can retain. You get a little bit older and stronger. Hopefully Garlock's minutes can go up, and hopefully I would say you look at this year's roster. Hopefully Garlock can rebound more, send more shots back, play more, and kind of be that defensive anchor. So I think Garlock, and then you hope Belauskas and Rapp take a step up as well as they get a year older in the weight room. So you build from within there. I mean, Winter wasn't able to do fully what Nolan Winter's capable of today. And I mean, he hurt his one ankle like 3 times. Remember, he tweaked it like multiple times. And then he hurt his other ankle against Maryland. So he wasn't as full abilities, but Winter keeps on improving and getting stronger. So you have 4 guys who are, I mean, Winter is going to be a senior next year, but in today's college basketball, if we play a team like High Point, he's not even that old. He's not even that old. And he's also like Frank Kaminsky. Think of the jump he took from junior to senior. Like, there's a lot of room for improvement for Nolan Winter on both sides of the ball, and with his ceiling. And I shared this before, but I was at a luncheon where Greg Gard was talking, and I kind of threw him an alley-oop where I said, "Hey, there was a play last year against Illinois. And I only saw this once from Winter because he had 40 seniors next to him. He didn't need to be doing too much last season, and he pump faked, put the ball on the floor, reversed on the other side, and it looked so fluid for a guy who's a sophomore and 7 foot tall." And he's like, yeah, scouts drool over Nolan Winter's potential. And I think that goes for both sides of the court. So you have 4 bigs who got to get bigger, stronger, keep improving, and you hope Garlock can play more minutes next year and be that anchor, that imposer, that intimidator down low. And then is Hayden Jones going to be the perimeter defender? You find a guy in the portal, or have Hayden Jones be your intimidator defensively? And then, yeah, for whatever reason, for how athletic and old Boyd was, like, he wasn't that guy who was just clamping down. He went really hard, but I mean, we didn't have him going one-on-one against Braden Smith. Like, it wasn't mano-a-mano. It was John Blackwell guarding him. And I think part of that was to conserve Boyd's energy, but having a point guard who can really D up. But I would say, to kind of finish my answer here, having a Michael Flowers, a Brad Davison, a Klesmit, a guy like that who's got some physicality to them, who can really move their feet, be a true anchor, lock down on the perimeter. I think that's big. So they got to find that in the portal or with Hayden Jones next year. And then the bigs have to get a year older and keep working. Rap in the weight room. He does have a wide frame, and in hindsight, I made a pretty bad comparison. I said he reminds me a little bit of Steve Novak, but you're right. His frame, his broad shoulders at this young age, is something to keep in mind. So who knows? Maybe Rap. I mean, maybe Rap by the time he's a senior, God willing, he sticks around the program. Maybe he can kind of be an intimidator down low, like a bruiser. I'm not saying he's gonna be sending back a ton of shots, but maybe he's a guy who bullies some guys by the time he's an upperclassman. Because remember, that might sound a little crazy right now, but I'm a I'm beating the dead horse at this point, or I'm a broken record. But there's just a difference versus when you're 20 years old, you're a true sophomore, and you're playing against guys who are the age of overseas vets. Like, I mean, Johnston wasn't down low, but he's 26. There's guys who've been in the NBA for 7 years who are younger than him, right? I mean, it makes a huge difference. The older you get, the better that helps. So yeah, Rap does have a big frame, and maybe he can be a bit of a bully by the time he's a senior. You never know. I mean, this is totally not. This is apples and oranges, but no one would have thought that Giannis would be like arguably the strongest player in the NBA. Like, then he was a twig when he first came in Milwaukee. And I'm not comparing Rap to Giannis. I'm just saying that guys can get a lot stronger from the time they're 20 years old versus as they keep on aging. Um, yeah, yeah. Big men got to get better defensively. Find that lockdown defender. I think Wisconsin was hoping for a little bit more from Rhodey. Being Rhodey was a solid defender, but he wasn't great. I think they were hoping a little bit more from him on the defensive side. And then I don't know if this was counting today. He didn't shoot. I think he went 2 of 3 from three today, but he was 31% from three on the game today. So like I they were expecting a little bit more from him there, and I like Rhodey, Brookfield, Wisconsin kid, easy to root for, but yeah, they need a little bit. He there was, I mean, against Purdue, I do remember a time where like Fletcher Lawyer scored on Rhodey in the post. Fletcher Lawyer shouldn't be scoring on anybody in the post. I mean, Fletcher Lawyer, he did get stronger. I'll give Lawyer credit. He was really a twig. He kind of reminds me of the dentist from Rudolph in the Land of Misfit Toys. Kind of looks like that to me. And but he put on a little muscle, and there was a time where he out muscled Brody in the post. But how many guys in the Big Ten could Fletcher Lawyer bully and score on in the post? Not many. So they just need their guy on the perimeter, and they need the bigs down low to improve and get a bit older. Yeah, Packers lose. Say bye bye to Giannis, Fickle, and Gard. Okay. No, no, come on, don't get too emotional. Yes, I mean, I won't spend too much time on that, but at the same time, there's a lot of franchises that the consistency Wisconsin's had, all the big time wins they've had. Not too many people are doing what they're doing, and I mean the others. I mean, this isn't a show about Wisconsin, but overall, I mean, the Brewers didn't make the playoffs from like '82 to what, like 2007. I mean, they've made the playoffs a lot, and it's a small market. And yeah, guards consistency. This sucks. This is an unfortunate year for a team that had such a high ceiling, but overall, in my opinion, the season was a good season. This was a quality season. Anytime, I mean, there's 360 teams in Division One college basketball. Only one's happy at the end of the day, and upsets happen in March. It's not a best of seven. It's a one and done thing. And overall in the season, I thought this was a dub. Wisconsin got so much better. They had what it takes to make a run, and you do get judged on what you do in March. It's too bad that the whole big picture and what they accomplished kind of gets brushed under the rug. But yeah, I mean, this was a pretty solid season from Wisconsin, and they have a lot of guys who hopefully will come back and they'll get better. So yeah, and if you guys want to throw your last comments, I think I've been going for an hour 13 plus. So if you guys want to throw any last comments, any questions, I will answer them. I'll just hit a few last points and then I'll wrap this on up. So just give me 1 second and take a little sip of water. Not used to talking this much. So, all right. And then also, Mike and I are talking. Mike wasn't able to make the brew today. We're probably going to brew tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And Mike and I, we're now that the season's over, it's a little easier to bring on players from the team. I usually don't really pursue interviews with current players during the season much at all. I don't know. I mean, just seems to be a little bit much, but we'll definitely bring some current players on the team. If they bring any portal guys, we'll look to get them on. we're gonna hopefully have some alumni on, and maybe we'll dive into some non-Wisconsin things too. And then maybe Mike and I will be in person someday and do some content outside the box. So stay tuned for that. I really appreciate. I've had a lot of fun this season. It's the first season that I've really been consistent with Wisconsin Badgers and covering them. I'm gonna continue to cover Wisconsin because I love it. I mean, it's hard for me. Even I mean, last year's team for Wisconsin had a ton of continuity, and this year's team there was still some continuity for sure. But for me, Greg Gard's a likable guy. I mean, he seems from all the stories I hear, he seems like a pretty good human being. He's easy to root for, and I believe his day is going to come. I really think his day is going to come where he makes that deep run. And nothing good in life comes easy sometimes. And let's not forget Bo Ryan, all the flack that Bo got about not being able to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. And Bo got the starting job at Wisconsin. He started at Wisconsin at a similar age to what Greg Gard is right now. And Gard's starting to get some swagger. Gard didn't have much aura to the public, to the masses. A few years ago, he didn't have much aura. That aura is building. He's aura farming. Not to be corny, but his confidence, his swagger, his personality is coming out. He's finding a groove. Like Gard, he's a good coach. He's really good at X's and O's. You give him a legit athlete that Wisconsin typically doesn't have. He's going to cook with it. And also, let's not forget that Wisconsin's had a terrible stereotype of being boring, slow paced. It's hard to recruit when that's the stereotype, and that stereotype's going away. Now it's crazy to hear analysts say they play high speed. They love to get threes. First one to 90 wins. Things are changing. Guards gaining more aura, more confidence, more swagger, more clout, and that's what it is. I mean, you start winning a little bit more. I think his day is absolutely going to come. So I want to get overly emotional right now. So, but yeah, and Mike and I will brew and thank you. I don't know. Oh yeah, Pepe Le Pew. Pepe Le Pew. I appreciate all your support this year. And Badger Phonetic. I think that's how you say it. Badger Phonetic. Pepe Le Pew. Brett Rail. Like this was the first year that I went really consistent, and I'm so grateful. And this was actually Mike's idea. Like I had Mike on the Who's still there? Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly happened there. I'm gonna just test out my other camera real quickly. So just give me 1 second. Hopefully I don't lose it. I want to see if I still have battery. Yeah, all right, still have battery. All right, sorry about that. Appreciate you guys sticking around, but yeah, no, I'm super grateful. So what I was just saying, and Pepe Le Pew, Brett Rail, Badger Phonetic, all the regulars. Very grateful to have a lot of people who stuck around and consistently were showing up. This was the first year, and hoping to stay consistent moving forward. Hopefully, we can build on this. I think we laid a pretty good foundation. Mike and I we really get along well. Super grateful for Mike. He was the one. This was actually his idea. I had him on the show, and at that time, I was like, what do I want to do moving forward with this channel? I really love this. It's a good like kind of passion outside of work that I get to do. It's a fun hobby, and never know where it goes, but I enjoy it a lot. But I was kind of like, okay, where do I go? And Mike said, hey Matt, well, what do you think about making this a more regular thing? And I was like, that sounds really good to me. I actually was kind of thinking the same thing. I was planning on asking him the exact same thing, and yeah, so then the brew started, and I think this was a successful first year, and I really appreciate everyone who stuck around or watches a video, one video on the season or whatever. I truly appreciate everyone's support, and hopefully we can build on this. We can have some fun, do some content that's outside the box. But Mike and I are definitely going to stick together and build this partnership and continue to go and be consistent. And really appreciate yeah, we just really appreciate everyone's for sticking around, and hopefully we can just continue to improve. I feel like we both improved a lot just with reps, like anything else in life, like a skill. The more you do it, the better you get. And so, yeah, we'll continue, and maybe we'll go a little bit outside Wisconsin, and then me, we'll definitely continue covering Wisconsin. I'll cover Wisconsin, but perhaps I'll diversify the content a little bit moving forward. Um, yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So yeah, I think now been going on for a while, having fun with all you guys. Appreciate you hanging out with me. There's a lot of places. There's a lot of Badger content on YouTube, so I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Yeah, Mike was a little busy today, but we'll break things down tomorrow. But yeah, just kind of my final thoughts as I wrap this on up. Um, Today, heartbreaking, disappointing. I really wish that the stay was going to last a little bit longer. I'm out here in Portland. Was hoping to be here for a few more days, but thought Wisconsin played pretty well overall in the season. I think it was a successful season. I know you get judged on what you do in March, but I mean, this team came a long way, and this team could beat anybody. They proved that, and I absolutely think this team could have made a Sweet 16. I think they could have beat Arizona, but they didn't. You get judged on what you do in the tournament. It is what it is. But overall, I think solid season. I hope Wisconsin gets to retain players. I hope Nolan Winter and John Blackwell come back next year. And I think Gard's the man for the job. I really like that Wisconsin has a coaching staff full of former players. It is still very much a Wisconsin Badger feel to it versus having a brand new staff with no Wisconsin ties. You have a lot of Wisconsin ties from Krabenhoff to Steemsma to Davison to Chambliss and Gard, Cobb, Wisconsin. Like, you have a lot of Wisconsin ties, very easy to root for. Gard is a hell of a coach, and unfortunately, March Madness, it's a one game thing. You know what I mean? You don't have your best day, and I thought Wisconsin actually had a pretty good day, but High Point was really good. They had the talents of a high major team. They had the age of an NBA team, and they got the job done. But sincerely appreciate everyone who stuck around to the end of the video. Really appreciate it. Had fun hanging out with you guys. Had fun hanging on the live. I'll give just a little bit more time. I'll like another 30 seconds. Any last comments you guys want to make? But yeah, I see the viewers are dwindling down a little bit. Been on here for a minute. But I think I think Wisconsin's got a bright future overall. Disappointing then. I think it was a solid season. We'll see. We'll see what they do moving forward. We'll see. What happens with Winter and Blackwell, I don't know. But I think regardless if Winter comes back, they're going to have some promising bigs down low. And yeah, they got to fill up some holes. This team couldn't board well enough, but perhaps just the year with the younger bigs, get another year older. Perhaps the rebounding won't be as much of an issue. And then, yeah, they got to have a perimeter defender who can lock down a little bit more. So, yep. Thank you, everybody. Had a real fun time. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Sorry that Wisconsin lost a heartbreaker. They played hard. They battled hard. They played well. And I do expect Arkansas to beat High Point. But everyone, thank you so much. You guys all have a wonderful evening. I'm sure I'll see you guys again soon. Stay tuned. But yeah, have a great night, everybody.